It started with a viral video last month filmed by concerned St. Joseph native Victor Lewis. It alerted residents and Barbadians in general about a wall being constructed by Australian developers Water Limited here at the Project Tenby site, which was formerly the Edgewater Hotel in St. Joseph.
Good evening, Bajans. This is the area of the old Edgewater Hotel. This project up here is called Project Tenby. Is at the entrance to the George River Bridge that was newly installed. This project is intended to block Bajans from having access to the George River. In actual fact, this area here, a wall will be built up so you don't have access to the George River in that area below. A wall is being built on the other side. This area here, a wall will be built up to block you from having access to this area down on the inside.
The wall in question, which is part of an overall beach house and villa project, would restrict access to the well-known George River Basin and Teacup and Saucer, the former of which residents from surrounding areas and much further afield have come to love and use for fishing, picnicking, swimming, and just relaxing. But beyond its recreational use, the river is the longest river on island and is of vast historical value as Barbados' railway tracks are located there. For these reasons, many argue that access to the area must be protected for generations to come.
We have got to stand up as a people and declare our hands very clear, as we would have said from inset, that we must have free access to Joseph Gullies and free access to Teacup and Saucer. There's no question about that. When the youngsters from Gagsel, when the youngsters from Hiswick, when the youngsters from Bathsheba decide to go down to Edgewater Gully, they must have free access 24/7. When the crayfish are biting good and we decide to go home at 12 o'clock, we will go at 12 in the night. If Sister Sherry and John decide that they want to go on Teacup Saucer on a nice moonlight night, nobody should be able to tell them that they cannot go. They said traditionally, we Bajans, we here in Bathsheba, we have never entered the waterbed via that location at all. Lie. We have always entered Joseph River Bridge, Joseph River Gully from that location.
The lawyer representing Water Limited, Fair Finisterre, spoke to the media just days after what became a national outcry and rejected all claims that the developer aims to exclude the Bathsheba community.
I have seen the social media that's going around alleging that the owner of Tenby is attempting to build walls to exclude the Bathsheba community. And I want to make it really clear that from inception, from the time that this property was purchased, it was with the intention of being part of the Bathsheba community, to be part of Bathsheba and to enjoy its beauty. And it's never been the intention to exclude any of the residents of Bathsheba. In fact, when the construction plans were being made, my client would have reached out to certain community groups and even had made an offer to assist in the reconstruction of the bridge, a financial offer. And that goes to show the bona fides behind intending to acknowledge and uphold the traditional easements of persons, Bajans, to walk through and over the railway trace. Any plans which have been made for the development have been approved by the Town and Country Planning Office. And furthermore, none of these plans include any walls which will preclude the access of persons to pass and repass over the railway trace. So that's just completely a misunderstanding or just misinformation.
She further stated that the walls being built were only to shore up the property. The residents, however, were not convinced, and their concerns only deepened on March 6, when the wall began to really take shape and appeared to be a clear barrier to the river basin. They made it clear that while they support the development, the restriction would not be tolerated. And so the protest moved from viral videos to residents gathering on the site the following day, accompanied by cultural ambassador and social activist, the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter.
This is nonsense. This is ridiculous. This is sacrilegious. This is like, to me, taking advantage of the people of Barbados and of St. Joseph in particular. This cannot be allowed to continue. Town and country planning have made a monumental mistake in permitting these so-called developers to come here and build a ridiculous wall. This is terrible. And this man is allowed, given permission to build this atrocity, this barrier. And not only that, to build a cottage down here and try to stop the good people of St. Joseph from having access not only to the teacup and saucer, but also to Joes River itself. It is unfair, it is wrong, it is an injustice. I'm going to say this. We must remember that we're here to share our country with anybody and everybody, but not to give it away or to allow them to control us or in any form or fashion dictate to us on this 166 square miles. Sparrow used to sing a song called "We Passed That Stage." We passed that stage. No more of that nonsense. We're fighting for our rights.
A number of residents also spoke out.
In the past, there were certain restrictions in terms of development along Riverside. One, along the beach side, there was a 100-foot water mark in which you could not do any development within 100 feet of the high water mark. That seemed to have gone through the window. One. Two, there's a setback, what you call an easement, from the center line of the river. That too has gone out through the window. Regrettable that the chief town planner or the persons who made this decision would have done so without any consultation with the persons in Bathsheba area and St. Joseph as a whole. We all hallow this place as the last beautiful area in our constitution, and now we're being told that it's being taken away from us.
From as long as I can remember, I have lived in Bathsheba. I've used the bridge before it was significantly damaged. And the passage that we used to use to go to the Joes River, same places that they're building the walls. You cannot, only if the sea is extremely low, you can go along the beach and you could pass across and exit onto the east coast. If the sea is high, you cannot cross that. You will, more than likely you could be carried out into the sea.
Some Sunday mornings I leave St. Peter and I'm hiking all the way up and down all over the place in St. Joseph because this is where my navel string is buried. I have very fond memories of Edgewater, and since that bridge has been restored, because it had been out for so many years, since that bridge has been restored, it has become quite an attraction for a lot of people to come on the other side, what we used to call the powerhouse. They park over there. They walk across the bridge. It is an attraction. Not only that, but they make their way down to where that wall is now being built to access the river and to fish. Because I see them. When I'm walking on the bridge, I see so many people do that. And it's national significance now.
They improved the parish of St. Joseph. After all, we should be grateful. The unspoken word is what I'm talking about. We should be grateful they built us a bridge and gave us a sign. And then the next thing we heard, they have the river. How much of it are we going to lose because somebody comes and does something nice, give us a pretty park, or give us an attractive bridge, and then take what?
Richard Haynes, CEO of South Central Marketing, which represents the developers Ulls Water Limited, was present that morning. After listening to the residents, he spoke briefly on behalf of the company.
What they did say this morning is that they have heard the local community They are dedicated to the local community. They actually were responsible for fixing the railway trace when it was damaged several years ago. They were heavily involved in the construction of the George River Bridge, which obviously is a major attraction down here for locals. And they've heard the people's concerns. They've currently stopped the construction of the actual gates on the eastern end of the property, and they are going to sit down there and they basically want to consult with the local community to make sure that when this project comes off, is erected, that everybody is done in harmony with the local community and everybody's happy.
Those assurances were not enough. The residents stepped up their opposition to the wall by taking legal action. Victor Lewis et al., represented by Gregory Nichols and Cody Hines, filed an application in court for an injunction. The attorneys, as well as Finisterre, the lawyer representing Ulls Water Limited, met in virtual court on Friday before Justice Barbara Aline. After a full day in court, an interim High Court injunction was granted, halting construction of the wall.
The application before the court today was for an interim order to prevent the landowner at the Edgewater Hotel from blocking and restricting the access of the public and the members of the Bashua community from accessing the river basin and the areas out there and the lookout point that is called Teacup and Saucer. Yeah. The court granted the first limb of the injunction, which was that the landowner cannot block public access to the area. So the wall that was being constructed probably they have to cease and desist from the erection of those walls that block access to the public from accessing the areas down by George River.
The injunction granted, however, did not speak to the removal of the partially erected wall.
The court did not grant that other aspect of the injunction. I think the issue was that the developer has intimated or indicated that they have stopped construction since Tuesday. So the court wasn't minded to grant that part of the order to remove the parts of the wall that have been put there. But they cannot complete it or they cannot block the access.
But even with the injunction in place and all tools down as it relates to the wall's construction, the residents gathered once again to determine their next move. And this time, they were joined by veteran trade unionist Sir Roy Trotman, who is of St. Joseph lineage. Sharing his thoughts on the ongoing situation during a meeting at the St. Elizabeth Resource Centre, Sir Roy said while he believes investment in the parish should always be encouraged, it cannot be at the expense of locals.
Of course we love visitors. Of course we want to do business with them. But we don't love visitors to take advantage of our patrimony. We love them, but we don't love them to kick us about. And that message has to be clear. If the man wants to rebuild Edgewater, I can't see you will have a problem. The problem comes with when what you try to do breaks the rules, breaks the conventions, breaks the habits, the customs, the rights of the people who live in the area. We cannot have those elements in the economy of our country to be developed only for the well-being of the rich and the private. We must develop the commanding heights of the economy of our country so that every man and every woman and every child is equally able to enjoy the benefits of our society. If they're saying there's an alternative route that you still have, is it that they're telling us that we gotta walk in the sea? Only Jesus walked on the sea? Is that where we are supposed to go to get from the Bathsheba side of Jones River down to the East Coast side of Jones River? So we're going to pray for the Holy Spirit to fill us and walk on the beach. Walk on the water here. And will all of us have that faith? Well, Christ himself said this can only come if you got the requisite amount of faith. So it means that some of us can drown.
He added that low-paying employment opportunities for residents in the area should not be seen as incentives.
Some of the thoughts in this matter go along the lines of arguing that it's all right because some people will get work. I imagine they mean that we will find some jobs for some people to do gardening. if we are going back to judging the success of our people, judging the success of our Bathsheba people purely on whether we are able to get a job as a gardener or to get a job as a maid, then in fact we have achieved nothing.
As of today, all parties are heading to the negotiation table, including MP for St. Joseph Dale Marshall, who was asked to be recused of this matter.
Of course, I'm not only the representative of the constituency of St. Joseph. I'm a Barbadian who has always loved Bathsheba, going back as far as my school days. But I've stayed out of the matter thus far because I felt that there was a strong potential of a conflict of interest between my role as Attorney General and that as a member of Parliament for St. Joseph. But in light of recent developments, I have asked the Prime Minister if she would be so gracious as to allow Minister Wilfred Abrams to take charge of any matter at all which arises and might involve the state, which arises out of the George River dispute, so that I can support the efforts of my constituents and hopefully to try to achieve an amicable resolution of the dispute. I've spoken to Mr. Haynes, that is Mr. Haynes, the developer, and he has indicated to me that he'd be very happy to meet with us because he too would like to see the temperature come down and that we can find a lasting and friendly solution to the issue. So we are hoping to be able to have a meeting with his side, his attorneys, and our side, that is myself as Member of Parliament, the affected, the two individuals who are party court case and their attorney. There are a lot of parties to bring together. Mr. Haynes will obviously want his legal team and his technical advisors to be present. And the same thing for the St. Joseph residents and myself. I will more than likely also include Minister William Dugard, who has responsibility for planning. And so a lot of moving parts, but I imagine that we should be able to get that put together certainly within the next 2 or so days. And I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to come up with a resolution of the matter.
While the residents remain open to discussion, they've made it clear that they are not willing to compromise on their right to access the Joes River Basin and Teacup and Saucer. I'm Krystal Hoyte. Thank you for joining us.